folks, I'm going to say without any further ado, I'm going to introduce to you not only somebody who's a business owner here at American Business Systems. He is the guru of all support here at American Business Systems, but a long dear friend of mine here that I got to meet through American Business Systems. So let me introduce you to Tim Warren. Tim, it's good to have you here this afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here, Eric. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. So, Tim, I mean, you've been at this for quite some time, but let's kind of just tell your story. Obviously, we got some folks here on the line this afternoon. It's going to want to hear how you got started, because even back in the day when you got started, we were doing these webinars. So you probably heard
Hmm.
Patrick and me doing those, and my hair was a little bit different color than what it is
Yep.
currently. It is
Mine
now.
too.
Yep. But tell us, what you were doing before American Business Systems, and kind of just give us your journey through whatever you were doing now into this whole medical world here.
Well, to put it really quick, going so far back, I mean, right out of college, I was a musician and I started playing in bands and touring and that sort of thing. Then I worked in music retail stores, got an opportunity to start working for manufacturers and traveling around. Wound up being a, regional sales manager for some musical instrument manufacturing companies, that sort of thing. Eventually opened up my own independent rep firm. So we provided sales staff for companies that didn't have their own in-house sales. And that we started that in 2007. Then 2008 happened.
Right.
And it was pretty tough. I mean, we survived it, but barely. And I looked at my wife and I said, we really need to find something that is a little bit more insulated from economic pressures of the economy. And so we started looking around, and we pulled the trigger finally in 2012. So this coming May will be our 13th year in business
Wow.
with ABS.
Amazing. Well, I remember the day that you came out, and I know the picture I'm going to show you is not your original picture, but you remember the days when training used to happen
I
at
do.
here locally, and we would bring
Mhm.
everybody in, and Patrick could get up there at the front, and he would welcome everybody. And but this is Tim and Robin, both Tim and
Mhm.
Robin joined at the same time, and they're this husband and wife. And you guys are still doing medical billing on top of everything
Sure.
that you're doing with the support. But tell us about how training used to be, and then what you learned out of it, and then kind of how it got started from there.
Well, the training was great. I came out of a career of sales,
Hmm.
and I thought I knew everything I needed to know. And so the training was kind of counterintuitive to me because it wasn't really selling. It was more like consultative selling. It was really just positioning yourself as an expert,
Sure.
and they gave me some tools to do that with. And I was like, man, that doesn't make any sense to me. Uh, and so I tried to do it my own way for a few months, and I said I wasn't having any success. So I went back to the basics and I did it exactly like taught me in training. And once I had done that, we had our first client in 2 months after that. So
That's amazing. Well,
yeah.
I mean, Tim, I know you hear it. I hear it. I get a lot of questions, obviously, on the webinars about success rates. Uh,
Hmm.
how many people fail at this business? I would have to put you in that category. In the beginning, you were failing.
I
Would you say?
was.
Yeah. So I usually tell people, and I remember when Patrick used to say this on our webinars, he'd say, our failure rate is probably 100% in the beginning.
That's
Because
right.
most people try to do it the way that they think it should happen.
Hmm.
And eventually they just get, oh my goodness, whatever. I don't know if I'm doing this right. They finally get back with support.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they go, man, if I had just stuck with what ABS said to do in the first place, I'd probably be a lot further
I
along.
agree,
So
and I was the poster child for that. I mean, I've
yeah,
told people that for years. If there was ever an example of how not to do things, that was me.
That was it. That's
So
probably why they made you, whatever VP of
yeah,
support, what you are
yeah,
here.
well, yeah, that's probably the reason that they picked me was because I'm the only person that did everything wrong and survived it.
Yeah, and
So
survived it. So, but you ended up getting a client, and we'll talk about some of those clients. But that didn't sort of. I mean, you did a lot in the very very beginning, and I'm gonna put up an old picture so people can see that you and I've been around for a little
yes,
bit.
we have.
Our hair colors are a little different. So this was
Uh-huh.
back a few months ago. Obviously, it was a few years ago, but because what people are seeing right now is this is a trade booth show or a trade booth that you had, and ABS actually has a trade booth for
Hmm.
people to utilize. And actually, it's different from this one.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's brand new.
it's
It
brand new.
just came in. It's really nice.
It's awesome looking. I've seen the pictures of it, but uh, folks can let you know that part of your marketing can be utilizing trade shows. And if I'm not mistaken, Tim, was this at a podiatry?
Yeah,
Uh,
it was a statewide podiatry conference in Texas.
yeah,
Uh, so, yeah, we I was had the good fortune to get an opportunity to speak there, and you were kind enough to come down and work the booth with me while we were there, and so
sure.
it turned out to be a very successful show for us.
Yeah, those are so much fun to do.
Hmm.
You and I are strange guys. We like to go meet people that we don't know. So
That's right.
we're just that kind of folks. But obviously, trade show booths is not going to be for everybody. So
No,
why don't you? I don't want to shift it too terribly much, but you didn't get all of your clients through a trade show booth because obviously, again, if people heard Tim correctly at the very front, or you're just now joining us, you did not have a career in healthcare. It
not at
was
all. No.
you were a musician. You sold guitars.
Hmm.
This was your gig. Your wife came, I believe, from a large beverage company.
Yeah, I don't think we'll get it. She worked for Coca-Cola
Yeah.
bottling for about 8 years
Yeah. Yeah.
prior to us purchasing the ABS license.
Yeah. So you can see you can take a guy that plays guitar and somebody likes to drink Coca-Cola and actually become pretty good in
That's right.
healthcare.
Yeah.
But this was great because you kind of fell into a niche where you were really, really, I'd call some of the specialists in the podiatry world, but obviously kind of share with everybody else that's on here because everybody wants to know what kind of doctors can you do billing for?
Sure. Well, podiatry was not something that we actually chose.
Hmm.
It just sort of happened that it kind of chose us
Hmm.
because of some referral partners that we developed that were in that space. And then they got very active and they found out that we knew what we were talking about as far as general billing and that sort of thing. We were able to do some revenue recovery that a lot of other people just weren't getting done.
Right.
And so because of that, they started recommending us a lot.
Yeah.
The picture that you're looking at right there, that was our very first client. Dr. Cowan is a gynecologist, didn't deliver babies, so didn't do the obstetrics part of
Yeah.
it, but she did that and also had some aesthetics type things, weight loss, things like that that she did. So it was a whole wellness center for women.
Yeah.
But she was the first one that we met her through some networking, and she was our first client. Uh, we owe a lot to her. So mm,
Well, I'm gonna talk about that networking thing in just one more
sure.
moment, but I want to post this up here too because
Mm,
you really moved from obviously again not knowing really anything in healthcare to transitioning into obviously you started medical billing business. You had your failures in the beginning because you were trying to
right.
sell this like you were trying to sell guitars, which can't be done. But
Mhm.
you progressed into so many things where, I mean, now you're sitting in front of a room talking to a whole bunch of people. I mean,
Right.
so you've made a great journey here, and you took it on probably. there's always that handful of folks that in any type of business that says, you know what, I started here, but I expanded out to here.
Mhm.
So tell us about what this organization that you're talking about here.
So I forget, this is either going to be the statewide podiatry conference in Texas or Georgia, one or the other.
Okay.
But what they would do is that all the podiatrists would come to the conference. They'd bring part of their office staff,
Hmm.
and they would separate them out into separate tracks.
Sure.
And so the providers, the physicians would go in one room and listen to more technical stuff that's about the providing services. And then the office staff would go into another room and talk to people about increasing efficiency in the office and getting the claims paid and things like that.
Sure. Yeah.
And so what this particular one, this is a thing I did that was basically explaining how to be the most efficient about the front office work, getting the patients in, checked in, getting their co-payments and getting them back to see the doctor and then scheduling appointments, things like that.
Yeah. So I mean, you once you got locked in, you really became an expert in this field. And
Yeah, and it was based on everything that I was taught in the training.
sure.
They gave me some great tools, and we've kind of switching gears for a second, just talking about the support team over at ABS. We really do a lot more now about customizing strategies for
Mhm.
each individual licensee so that we can take your situation and customize it for you so that you can have a strategy that will help you to land your first client, that
Yeah.
sort of thing. And so part of that is, if public speaking is what you want to do, like I did, then we help with that. If it's something else, we help with that as well.
Sure.
So,
So you can scale it to anybody's
mhm.
comfort level. I would probably that's a good
I'm
way to
I'm
put
really happy with what we've accomplished over there
it.
for the last few years.
Yeah. Now I'm going to kind of go back into as we start to transition from, what you did, how you got a part of ABS, your kind of a journey here. Now I want to start shifting over really to where the folks that are on the call today are going to, what I would
Hmm.
say, they're going to get a taste of what they're going to get from once they become an ABS business owner at this point. And really, it's all about how does ABS support your business.
Hmm.
So obviously, it starts with several different services. Obviously, the iClaim EMRX is the main driver for the business, which is where the billing and the practice management part of
Right.
it comes into electronic medical records and all that comes into play. But before we dive into a little bit about that, I want to share with the group here how you actually help, people that are brand new of getting that first client. Because you mentioned that a moment ago, you like to help people get their first client. You mentioned something about networking.
Hmm.
So, and obviously, you probably helped some brand new ABS business owners here recently get their first client. Kind of give us a little bit of, we're at a smorgasbord, so a buffet.
Okay.
Give us a little bit of what you do of helping folks get their first client.
Well, a lot of people come in and they have never owned a business before, and so
Sure.
there are a lot of things that you need, and so we have several people in our sport team now that have business experience. So even if it comes down to, like registering with the Secretary of State, your business, how to set up your LLCs, things like that, the basics of getting a business going, regardless of what it is.
Sure.
So we teach and support that sort of thing. Um, and and by the way, yeah, I think that our trainer just had an anniversary this week with the company. She's been with the company for 12 years.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
um, the other thing that we do is we take everybody's level and we try to provide them with a guide that's got all of the step-by-step instructions for their particular situation. Some people are still working a regular job. Some people want to go at it full time. Some people are uncomfortable knocking on doors and want to have sales reps and that sort of thing. And so we try to customize a plan for each individual so that
Sure.
they can run their business their way.
You bet. Good. Couple of questions that are starting to come in, and typically during a webinar, I try to answer all those questions at the last. But since we're doing an interview today, I figure I'm going to kind of sprinkle these in through
Sure.
here, because we're going to go for a full hour. Typically, I try to go for 30 minutes and take those questions on the back end. So, but Mara's asking, is this just for doctors? Now, Mara, you might want to help expand what your question is, but typically what we're doing here now is reimbursements for physicians, so for providers. So, but
Right.
if you're wondering if it's just for like a medical doctor, it could also be for like a nurse practitioner as well. You
Or a
might,
dentist. I mean, we
or
do have
yeah,
dental software as well, and we support dental platforms.
yeah. So anybody that bills what is known as is what's called a CMS 1500 form. That's the form of which iClaim processes claims. So I know that we've got folks, Tim, that do billing for massage therapy.
Hmm.
So it doesn't have to be like you can think of as a doctor. Anybody that's doing a medical procedure and they fall
Right.
up under CMS, then and if they're billing on that CMS 1500 form, then obviously they can you can do the billing for them. Am I missing anything there, Tim?
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a platform now that even does well with like med spas and
Okay.
things like
Yeah.
that that don't
Yeah.
even file the insurance. But there's a platform where you can actually get involved with a med spa or acupuncturist or things like that that aren't typically covered by any kind of reimbursement insurance.
Sure. Yeah. Well, let's just kind of take a quick look here. And most people understand they've seen these boxes before, but some of these boxes, if you haven't seen all of these, obviously, you're not getting a little, information out of these little boxes. They're just there to kind of help us understand what's going on here. But some of these have to do with coding.
Yep.
Some of these services have to do with accounts receivables, which would be actually how the doctors are getting paid, obviously the
Hmm.
billing part of it. There are some services here that have to do with HIPAA compliancy training and promotion within the doctor's office. So the
Right.
question and I'm just going to use your first part of your name here, Con, is medical billing the only revenue generation option? I see virtual care. I'm assuming remote patient monitoring, and that is correct.
You are
Medical
correct. Yeah.
coding. Do we charge the customer for these services, or ABS will charge the customer? So you want to kind of tell everybody
Sure.
how the services work, how they actually going to get paid out from all these services.
Sure. Well, there are a number of additional services, even more than what you see right here. But like even from the beginning in credentialing, where you get people signed up to be in network with insurance payers,
Hmm.
we have a number of folks that utilize that service right there. So in that service, you have some flexibility of the way that you would do it, but for the most part, you're going to be invoicing your clients, which is going to be the medical practices, the dental practices, that sort of thing. And then some of the services will be discounted to you, and you'll make profit on them as well. So, like for example, Quick Collect, that's where that service is for patients who have not paid their bill in a timely way. It is a collection service, but it's a soft collection service,
Right.
and it's something that almost every medical practice has to have as part of their overall strategy. This is a great company we work with, and they have a couple of different products that help them to get paid. Once insurance pays all insurance has paid everything it's going to, and the patient has a balance left over, that's what they'll go and try to collect. The compliancy guard is going to be how you help someone to maintain compliance, because the fines for not adhering to HIPAA compliance can start out at $500,000. So
Yeah.
spending money to make sure that you're compliant is something that we can help practices do. And if you can't get them to buy any other services, there are a lot of these gateway services like Compliancy Guard, like CodeWright, like Audit Guard,
Yeah.
that at least you'll start doing business. And the one thing I found out, it's a whole lot easier to do more business with somebody you're already doing business with. All you got to do is have them happy with one service, and they'll start adding them on.
Yeah, you
Uh,
bet.
but CodeWright is day in, day out coding services. Audit Guard is more of a go in and see how the practice is doing on their overall coding of encounters to make sure that they're doing things in a proper way and getting maximum reimbursement. Most every medical practice ought to do one of those about every year or two at least.
Yes, absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
but the virtual care, he's right, the remote patient care, but it's not just limited to that. It's also chronic care management, things like that. It's really got a tremendous upside to that one because it's one of the things where you can go after large clinics.
Yeah, yeah. And even for that, for virtual care, you can make money on that and not even do
Mhm.
the billing.
That's right.
So, so when people are asking, do I have to do the billing? Because Mara is asking the question, then do I have to be a healthcare career? Do I have to be that as my career? Well, you're going to be in healthcare, obviously, because this is what you're a part of. But if you're thinking that you have to go to get a certification or anything else like that, we actually do all your certifications. So,
Hmm.
and I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag too terribly much, but there's additional training that I'll let Tim share here a little bit more and as we kind of go through this. But these are the services. It's more than just medical billing. There's some and on these services, I think like the question was being asked, you make the money because what you're doing, you're invoicing your clients for this, and then you're making money. Think of it as kind of a retail where you're getting all these at wholesale prices because obviously ABS is
Right.
not doing the work there. I'm trying to explain it to you the best I can, just kind of make it in best layman's terms for you. But let's say that you're going to um, help the doctor along with their compliance and they need help there and they need to get their manuals set up and their training and everything. Well, there's a certain cost just to get the job done. Okay.
Right.
Because there's people that are going to do it. They're going to help set it up. They're going to do all the training. It's kind of like, you don't even have to do anything. But when you sell it or you provide that to a provider, there is a MSRP type of thing that you can say
Right.
it costs this. You're making the difference on that. So there's
Correct.
no ABS is not making any money directly from that. Now, with that said, excuse me, and have full transparency, once these services are being used, whether it's virtual care, Audit Guard, CodeWright, those services, since ABS has brought more business to them on the back end, they're giving ABS pennies on the dollar to kind of help us, and that's how we continue to keep supporting Tim and his group. So a lot of people ask, well, how can I have this investment of $30,000 and have a lifetime of support? We have our own built-in self-funding support mechanism when more of our ABS licensees use more of the services. So there's money for you to be made. There's money for ABS to make that helps us support Tim's group.
Yes. Yeah, that was one of the things that I couldn't understand, and it just felt like
Right.
it was so hard to get my head wrapped around. It's like the return on investment numbers that I saw is like that can't be right,
Yes.
because when you start looking at other opportunities, I mean, when we started, we were looking at franchises, and we saw that we would need to have three of them, which you were looking at Subway, and at the time it wasn't UPS stores, it was mailboxes, etc.
Sure.
And to get to the real revenue, you had to have three of them before you could really build up to revenue that you thought that was what you were shooting for.
Right.
And you had to have a lease, a physical place. I mean, we've worked from home our entire time for this last 12 and a half years.
Yes.
And we didn't have to have an office, anything like that. All of our employees who have been virtual employees that were able to work from home. So we kind of were there before COVID.
Yes.
and
Yep.
it was like we were super prepared for it, and we didn't have any problems with revenue through that entire period.
You bet.
So it's been very fortunate run for us.
All right, so
But
let's talk about supporting and now again the new business owners, and it kind of starts really in a couple of different places. One is this whole organization called Myrma. This is a brainchild from Adam, our CEO, uh, and what we've always needed, even from the beginning, is an organization that people can be a part of here as an ABS licensee, because you can see right above my head, everybody's wanting to know that little logo. Can I carry that logo with me? As I kind of go through it, and we really didn't want people to use that logo because if you can imagine, people would try to find it and they end up seeing ABS and they say, "Oh, well, you just started a new business in medical billing." So Adam thought of, hey, let's start an organization called Myrma, and it's got its own board of directors now, and it's a very large organization. But it is this group that's certifying you, and then you get to carry that particular logo. And this logo is obviously it's myrma.org, so people can go to it, and it's not directing them directly to American Business Systems, but you've been helping though build Myrma and some of the other things that are in the background past Myrma. So let's kind of talk about, this Medical Revenue Management Association of America, how this is working, supporting our new business owners here.
sure. Well, I always tell everybody the original purpose was to give all of our business owners more credibility and visibility to the
Yeah,
medical community. Um, and the long-term goal all along was to build more and more training programs and that sort of thing to enhance everybody's knowledge. So some continuing education. And there's a the end is in sight for our first major uh, training program that's going to be beyond initial training for there's a program coming, medical billing for certified medical revenue managers, which is it's twofold course that will be a part of the license.
that's awesome.
And that's and it's going to be training not only how to bill, but it's going to be how to manage a practice, their revenue and that sort of thing, and how to report to them.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot of new growth there and a lot of things that are going on to support you there in initial with just training and everything else. I'm going to zip over here for questions because I don't want to get too far behind on some
mhm.
questions. But Salim is asking, does the business model work in Canada? I am a billing clerk since 14 years right now, and I want to be my own entrepreneur. Uh, yes, we've actually had people in different countries work this, but you got to remember that the only way for it to work for you in another country is that you're going to be basically doing it remote. So you're going
Mhm.
to have physicians, providers here in the US because we're building
Yeah,
on what's called a CMS 1500 form.
right.
So
And they
you
have
want
to
to
be
take
a
it a little
part
bit
of
more
the
than that?
U.S. healthcare
Yes.
network. So,
Yes. And I think same thing from Abdul is asking, you're from India. How does this model work? Am I able to do it without visiting the US? And if so, how? Yet, we've had a lot of people, start up a business, remotely, finding doctors here, so it can be done. Um, have you, since you've been in the role of which you are in support, worked with anybody from outside the states helping them get business?
yeah, we have one licensee that's doing really well that's in Canada now,
Okay.
but they're doing all U.S. healthcare network work. Just so everybody knows that the U.S. healthcare network also includes the territories. So, like Puerto Rico is in the U.S. healthcare network as well.
Yep, absolutely. All right. Another part of ABS support and how we're supporting your business is a very big website and very robust. And I'm sure you probably manage a lot of this on the back end there, Tim, and that's the licensee support site. Now, this is
Hmm.
not to be confused with anything, when you hear us talk about business owners, this is nothing else that you have to. We've always called our business owner licensees because we're a business opportunity and not a
Hmm.
franchise. Obviously, having the license to use all this the support stuff, the training, all the materials that come along with that puts you in a better financial standpoint
Yep.
because there are no franchise fees, there's no royalty fees. So if you see licensee support site, that's what it is. So, but inside of here, though, Tim, kind of explain to us what the people might find here on the licensee support site.
Sure. Each one of our technology partners, you'll find them under the services category. The services category will have each one of our technology partners will have their own page, and it gives you all of the downloadable things that you need. It'll have instructional videos with it. Uh, our technology partners do webinars with us on a regular basis, and so you'll find replays from previously recorded webinars will be there. And then under the tools and resources, there's additional tutorial training, video based, and a lot of templates for your basic business documents like proposals and sales agreements and things like that. So we try to have everything that one would need. And of
Mhm.
course, our support team helps you to customize all of the templates into something for your business. So if you want your logo on it, we'll help you to get your logo on the documents and that sort of thing. So that's what our support team does.
Awesome. Perfect. Cons, this is from an earlier question. Yes, you're welcome. You're so welcome. That helps out. Yeah. So this is so, and again, they can order stuff from here as well.
Mhm.
What kind of types of things can they order from the support side?
Well, I know that you're going to talk about books
Yep.
and letters. We have some customized letters that are kind of letters of recommendation from. We work with other providers that have um, developed these templates for letters that can be customized to recommend you to other peers in their field. There are customizable books where you can actually take the time if you want to write your own foreword in a book. All you're trying to do is build credibility there for
Sure.
yourself. That's the hard part, and that's why I feel like the ABS delivers some real vital things that help you to get someone's attention. And that's really what it boils down to because you don't want to seem like everyone else. You want to have something unique about yourself and you want to position yourself as a subject matter expert.
You bet.
And there are a lot of tools that are available on there that you can participate in and order the books and the letters and things like that and have them all customized. The customized flyers as well that come
Yep.
with the business
Yep.
opportunity is really valuable.
I'm going to show some of those here in just a moment.
Cool.
Um, let's talk about training. I know that whenever you and I first started off the webinar
Hmm.
today, again, we used to fly everybody in here. Everybody used to come to a hotel, which was great. We enjoyed the fun, the fellowship that we got to do. We got to know each other very personally. But training moved right before COVID, which was
Yep.
you don't almost think
Perfect
providentially.
timing. Yeah.
Yeah, right before all of this happened here, we Adam and Patrick and Dr. Rackner were all talking about moving this training. I think you were probably heavily involved in that as well,
Hmm.
uh, moving it more online. Uh, and let's talk about that because we know there's some other organizations out there that, they may sell a business opportunity in medical billing and they say that they do training online, but let's talk about the way ours is because they're being trained by somebody who actually owns and has been a medical billing uh, company with American Business Systems.
Right. So our primary trainer is very experienced. She's one of the more successful business owners that we've ever had. And she does one-to-one training online with people. So it's not just virtual training. It's
Right.
just a one-to-one with an instructor. The support team also, we do some forms of training, but really it's more just narrowing things down to provide help documents for each of the licensees. But everybody that's in our support team is a business owner
Hmm.
with ABS, and so it's worked out really well because every one of us has walked in the shoes of a first-time business owner with ABS.
The value in that alone, I don't think it's hard to grasp until you start to go through it.
Right.
And fortunately, here at American Business Systems, you'll see this in a little bit. And for those that have been on previous webinars, you know that we've got other business owners that would absolutely love to talk with you.
Mhm.
And I'm sure you would too, Tim. But
Sure.
just to know that you've got people prior to you coming on board, but it's the after, once you become part of the ABS and you get opened up to this brand new world of all of this support, you've got people that have been there, they've done it, they've had their struggles, but this
Mhm.
training that's being done and the support that's being done are all ABS business owners themselves, and they built their business. So this is, the way Patrick and Adam have put this together and formalized this. What you're getting are not people that are just were good trainers at one point, uh, and now we're teaching you how to go do it, and then maybe they've never done it before.
Right.
Folks that have done this, including myself. I've had two medical billing companies myself. So, you're talking to two guys that have gone out there. We've done all the different marketing campaigns that could be done out there. We know some that work better for us personally. Some might work better for you personally. We don't all do it at the same time. We don't all do it the same way. But what you're going to learn from these folks is all these different models that work for everybody, and you're going to find out that it's going to work for you because obviously that's one of the questions that comes up here quite often is how can I get my first client? I
Mhm.
think I saw that question here just show up just a moment ago. But how am I going to get my first client? Well, it starts with this training right here, and then I would say it goes hand in hand with your support.
I agree. Yeah, the customizing the business strategy, we just need to know more about you, and
Yes.
there's not an opportunity to do that in initial training. So what you're going to, there's two things I hear everybody say. Number one, I feel like I'm drinking from a fire hose because
Yeah,
there's so much coming at you so
sure.
quickly. And then it's the initial training is like I don't even know what I don't know yet because there is so much, and that's why the website is so important. There is so much information on there, so many resources for you, and then on top of that, being able to take all of that information and narrow it down to a guide and a strategy for an individual business owner to help them accomplish their goals. I think it's a pretty good business model.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I just found that question there. Mortaza asked that question. How are we going to get clients? Is it going to be by the phone? Is it email? Is it in person? And I'll say this.
Really depends on you.
Yeah, it depends upon you. But let me share this with you. And I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the whole relationship part of this because the more that
Hmm.
you kind of engage people in person, because you gotta remember you're dealing with this doctor's their livelihood. So, the only way that people really like to do business with people is when they know, like, and trust them. It
That's
just
right.
gets down to those three simple things. So it's hard to develop that through an email. It's really difficult to try to do that just by a phone call. Now, it can happen that way, but whenever you're engaged with people and they know who you are, and again, I think next week I'm going to spend a little bit more time on our webinar. No, next week we're going to do another uh, interview, but one that we're going to have coming up is I'm going to spend a little bit more time on, developing this relationship within your community and your surrounding communities that people know that you're in business. That's where it gets down to, and
Right.
it really doesn't get any more difficult than that. So. And you're going to learn a lot of that through the training. Let me see if there's any questions here. So, Tim, here's one from Nancy. She says, I'm from IT background and have worked with healthcare insurance products, but I have no degree in any medical related field. Is this something for me?
It could be. There's nothing. I mean, you're so much more closely related to what we do every day now than I was when I started. And if
Yeah.
I can be successful, I think anybody could be. And uh, we see that the people that are really successful are the ones with great work ethic and the drive to do the research. And the support team helps you with the research and putting together the strategies. And when I say strategy, I'm really talking about taking the time to build the steps, to build the
Yeah.
process for you that makes sense to you. And anytime that we help people develop their message, I tell everybody, well, we can help you develop the message, but you really need to take it and put it in your words because
Yes.
people want things that are coming from you to be genuine. And if it's in your language, the way that you would say it, that's the best way to say it. You sound so much more credible that way.
You
But
nailed it.
having a guide with the sport team is a great, I don't want to call it a crutch, but I mean, everybody needs a helping hand to get started in something like this. And that's why we've set that up the way we did.
I put it just a little bit different. You and I are saying the same thing, but it's just developing your business story.
Yep.
It's all it is. Does it sound real? Does it sound like you're genuine? If you can start developing, and even now, folks that you haven't maybe purchased yet, you're looking about it, and you're kind of on that teeter-totter trying to figure this out. I would say there's a lot of things you can do prior to coming on board, and
Hmm.
part of that is developing your business story. Why are
Yep.
you doing what you're doing? If it's all for selfish reasons, then I don't think you're going to get very far. But if you find out, like both Tim and I know from what I would say our mentor taught us, which would be Patrick Phillips, if you're doing it for other people and what
Hmm.
you do to go out there to go do it for other people, you're going to find the business because your story is genuine and you're really searching out there to help others. And when that becomes your focus out there, that you're trying to help others, you're trying to help that doctor, because if you can help that doctor not be so worried about getting paid, they're actually doing better in their healthcare for their patients, which actually improves healthcare within your community.
Yes.
You're just getting the benefit from it on the back end because you've helped your community. That's the way I like to take it, look at it from a global sense there. All right. Let's see. Martaza is asking about, are we using our own pipeline full sales cycle? And yeah, Martaza, I think you kind of hear what Tim and I are talking about there. We're going to help you develop your own pipeline, if that's what you want to call it.
Hmm.
We're gonna teach you and show you how to create your what I would prefer your a brand new network. More of I think of a pipeline as this, there's just this hole here and there's just a stream. We're going to show you how to network and get wide uh,
Hmm.
of what you're going to try to do there. Part of that is utilizing this book, which you've mentioned, the New Thriving Medical Practice here. And as you can see here, we've shown you the book on the front cover. We can actually customize and put your name on the front cover. And you can see here a little sample here of where it's got some writing. This is the forward. And you said people can go on the licensee support site and customize their own forward. Is that correct, Tim?
That is correct. Yeah.
So it's incredible whenever you can get this in the doctor's hands and they read that, and even if you'll see here on this, it's maybe hard to see, but to the left hand side you see this little book here that has all these little yellow tabs. That's something that they're learning and training. What is it with these tabs here, Tim?
So it's one thing to give someone, it's almost like a give a man a fish and teach a man to fish. It's like taking this book and rather than saying, here, read this,
Right.
taking the time, they've already got some very key passages that they would insist that you go in there, you take a highlighter and you highlight them and put one of those sticky tabs on it and say, there are some really important things that I feel like you can benefit from. I've taken the time to put these things together for you so you can at least skim through them and see the things that I feel like could help your practice. And that's an integrity builder when
Yes.
you're dealing with a lead that doesn't know you. You're
Right.
trying to get them to that point to where they say, "Wow, I didn't expect that." So
Yeah, and that's what you've heard it, and I've heard it that man, a doctor's gotten the book, and then they contact the ABS business owner and said, "Hey, I just got through reading your book." Well,
yeah,
yeah, you're the author of the forward to the book, but again, in their minds, as Tim says, this has set you on a new platform for
hmm
credibility. And that's what you're needing. And I dare say if you go with anybody else that you're going to have this type of credibility building in your marketing campaign.
yeah. We feel like that helping you to nurture a lead from just the very beginning through the know me, like me, trust me phases.
Yes.
We feel like that's the most important thing anybody can do to help you, is to
Yeah.
help you to lead your new leads through a process. So when she was asking about the pipeline, we talk about funnels and things like
Yeah.
that. I have a number of people that I follow on YouTube that are experts at that sort of thing, and I think that anybody can learn, how to use those type of techniques. But having a tool like this where they teach you how to go and highlight a book and put the post-it tabs in there, that's be above and beyond what you would expect to get off of
Yes.
YouTube.
Yeah, absolutely. You bet. As we kind of start wrapping up here, you're going to
Sure.
get all of the marketing campaign flyers, as Tim mentioned, and these become customizable as well.
hmm
So Tim, what they do, I guess at the first part, they're going to get, um, I'll just, for lack of a better word, some sampling of these until we get their names printed on there, and that
Right.
all of that is done through your support group and through the licensee support site to get that on
Right.
the flyers.
Yeah, you immediately when you get the access to the ABS LSS website, you'll have an account created for you with Horton printing,
Mhm.
and all of those things can be customized by Horton with your information on it. Really nice quality stuff too.
Yes, absolutely. Nothing off of a laser jet printer, no inkjet
Mm-mm.
printers. This is for
These
professional.
are full bleed, high quality flyers.
Yes, absolutely. Now, and again, kind of rounding out the whole support, you've got support people, some of these folks, other people that help our new business owners,
Mhm.
specifically with s- specializes, specialty
Right.
healthcare, whether it's
Yeah, we got
cardiology,
a group of
podiatry.
people that we call the success coaches, and they're our
Yeah.
most experienced, most successful business owners, and they are willing to give of their time to help people in their journey to their first client as well.
Yep. All right. I'm going to get to our part here where we're going to go with a little bit of question and answer time because if you can believe it, we've been at this 53 minutes already. I
How
tell you, it
about
goes
that?
by so quickly. Let's see. So Yosabin Yaspani, sorry, butchering your name there. Says I already have an established LLC and have not landed my first client yet. Can I be a part of the ABS group? I'm assuming that you're not an ABS business owner with us or a licensee with us, but you can certainly become a licensee with us. If you've got all of that taken care of, then really it sounds like what you need is Tim and his group. That's what it sounds like.
I would agree with that.
Yep. Uh, Regina, is the 30,000 a one-time payment, or are there other annual fees associated with the ABS franchise? No, that's a one-time fee of $30,000. That's all you'll ever pay American Business Systems. I mean, you've been at this since 2012, right?
hmm
Have you ever
Yes,
paid anything else to ABS?
not a penny.
Yeah, not a penny. This one specifically you. Hi, Tim. I have experience as a medical biller, but not in the US. I'm from India. I work for a third-party billing company, and I have some knowledge about this business. Will I be able to start a business from India? I think we kind of answered that earlier, but you
Yeah.
want to answer it again?
Well, I think that you would have to establish a business entity in the U.S. in order to
Yeah.
be able to do that, and you would only be able to work with the U.S. and the U.S. territories as far as the U.S. healthcare network. But there's nothing because a lot of people, there are a lot of companies from India and other Pakistan and
Yeah.
other countries that actually do billing work offshore.
Hmm.
And so some of them work for big major billing companies or software companies, things like that. So there are certain circumstances that preclude you, that you would not be able to do certain types of billing just because that's the way it's mandated. But for the most part, 99% of everything that's out there, you should be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Colin's asking, can you get state and federal clients with your system?
Yes, you can. I'm actually helping one of our licensees from up in New York State
Okay.
has a bid for he has a coding bid for a behavioral health hospital.
There you go.
And so it was put out a request for proposal. And so I've been helping him with his research on that so that he could put together a proposal for that particular bid.
Yeah, man. I mean, so it goes beyond just the one doctor here. I mean, some people can reach out and go get some pretty big businesses out there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, Tim, what else you want to say to this group here? I mean, we got 4 more minutes left here to the top of the hour. What else you got anything else you want to share with these folks?
My dad always told me that, nothing worth doing is ever easy.
Yeah.
And this is no exception to that. It's not an easy path, but if you've got the drive and the determination, this is when I said earlier that the return on investment, I just couldn't get my head wrapped around it.
Yeah.
It's been truthful. It was better than I had ever anticipated. So the return on investment numbers are for real.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm a testament to that. Long story made short, we built our business up to a pretty significant level, and we got an offer from a national billing company to sell out our book of business, which we did several years ago, and got some residual income out of that. And that's when I started working with ABS. Our non-compete just ran out at the first of this year, so we're starting to put the band back together and do some direct clients. But we're very selective on who we
Yeah.
take on as clients. So
It's amazing. Yeah. For the
we've been very,
investment.
very fortunate. So
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if you were to calculate your initial investment and what it's been multiplied out from there, it's phenomenal.
I did do that calculation at one time, and we earned everything back that we put into it with one client, one doctor, in 8 months.
That's we talk about that often. One doctor can get your return on investment with one doctor, usually within the first year, and
Yep.
certainly proven that there.
I
So,
don't know any other businesses that you can
ah,
anticipate that to be true.
right, none that I can ever think of. So, Tim, I can't believe it's already been an hour. So, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I know I wanted to get you in here again before the end of the year
Yes,
so
sir.
people can hear you. So, I appreciate your time, and it was good catching up with you. And at least you and I, let us not be too long till we talk again.
It's time to sit down over a steak again, I think.
Absolutely. It's high time to do that. Thanks so much, Tim. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you, buddy.